In this video, we'll talk about the chilling fate that befell a mother and her baby deep in the wilderness of Yukon. This is nature at its cruelest, when hunger, pain, and instinctual fear take over and leave nothing but oceans of hurt behind. This story takes us to Yukon, the smallest Canadian territory, located in the northwest. Yukon is an area of rugged mountains, high plateaus, and glacier-fed alpine lakes. Most of the territory has a subarctic climate, with long, harsh winters and brief, warm summers. During extreme cold snaps, no other place in Northern America gets as cold as Yukon, but extreme heat can also occur in May or June. Yukon's old. Some of the earliest evidence of presence of human habitation have been found in this territory. The First Nations people populated the area long before Europeans arrived for the first time. There's a distinct feeling that sets Yukon apart from anywhere else on Earth. It's kind of a place where people can go back to their roots and connect with their most primal instincts and habits. Hunting, fishing, ice climbing, or dog sledding are only a few of the activities that come to mind. The scarcity of the population and the unspoiled vastness of the wilderness, the striking colors of the aurora borealis, the cold and the gold, make Yukon a singular vestige of harsh beauty. It was November 26, 2018, when a happy little family of three woke up in their cabin near Einarson Lake, close to the village of Mayo, Yukon. The village is small. Back in 2019, it had a population of about 496 people, and though the family didn't live there, they had some friends in Mayo. They couldn't and wouldn't reject other people, even though their seasonal business took them far off the grid. 3 years prior, before there were three of them, Valerie Thierry and her partner Germund Roosholt had bought the quaint little cabin near Einarson Lake, about 250 miles northwest of their hometown, Whitehorse. Thierry was from Quebec, but had moved to Yukon a decade before. She was a French immersion teacher at Whitehorse Elementary School with a passion for the arts and nature. Roosholt, her partner, was Norwegian, and he was deeply experienced in all matters concerning the wilderness. In fact, he had begun hunting and trapping when he was only 4 years old, along with his father and grandfather. For Thierry and Roosholt, there was nothing more beautiful than nature. So in 2015, the couple made the decision to buy the cabin and start laying traps for animals. The two of them had started a business in the fur trade. Both of them were experienced backcountry users. They always kept a clean camp and made sure there was nothing on the site to attract predators. On November 26, 2018, the couple had been staying at the cabin for about 3 months. Valerie Thierry was actually on maternity leave. She and Roosholt had a baby daughter, 10-month-old Adele. As you can imagine, they were extremely happy. As they ate their breakfast that morning, there was nothing going wrong or setting off alarms in their world. They were happy. They planned to stay at the cabin until the new year, when 37-year-old Valerie Thierry was to return to her beloved teaching job in Whitehorse. But for now, they were still fully immersed in the trapping season. In fact, as soon as they finished breakfast, Germund Roosholt said his goodbyes to his family and took his leave. He had to check one of their trap lines. Valerie and baby Adele remained at the cabin. Although it's unclear how they spent their day, we know the new mom liked being creative. Before being a teacher, she had been a graphic designer. She also enjoyed creating clothes for her 10-month-old daughter. What we do know is that sometime during the early afternoon or late morning, Valerie decided it was time for a short walk. Fresh air is always healthy, and especially great for a baby. So she put the baby carrier on her back and loaded Adele in it. They were ready for a mother-baby bonding session in the middle of nature. The two of them stepped outside. Nothing seemed to be out of the ordinary, so they started walking. The pair walked on a nearby trail. Since Thierry was a seasoned nature enjoyer, she probably didn't want to stray too far from the cabin. And her daughter was so young, she couldn't risk exposing her too much to the elements. But what happened next couldn't have been prevented or stopped. Not even a mother's love for her infant could have been enough to avoid the horror. As Valerie and little Adele continued their walk, a famished beast lurked only 6 feet away, hidden by the brush and angered by intense pain and hunger. When the pair approached its hiding spot, the grizzly leapt, leaving Valerie no time to react. Miles away, German Russelt, Valerie's partner and Adele's father, was checking one of the family's trap lines. He finished the job around afternoon and started making his way toward the cabin where he was certain he'd find his beloved family. Then he noticed something strange and alarming. There were fresh bear tracks appearing to be heading toward the cabin. The man rushed home. He entered the cabin and checked everywhere, but his partner and their infant daughter were nowhere to be seen. The little building was empty. Russelt walked outside, keeping his loaded rifle at the ready. He probably was more than worried, and then while he was walking toward the nearby sauna, he heard a low growl. When he looked up, the man saw a grizzly charging out of the brush from less than 50 feet away. He took his rifle and didn't waste a moment before shooting at the bear. The first shot wasn't enough to kill the creature, so the man fired another shot and another. The fourth shot was finally successful, and the grizzly collapsed on the ground, dead. But the tragedy was far from over. Russelt walked only a short distance away from the dead beast before finding Valerie's body. He then found baby Adele's remains. There are no words to describe how he must have felt, and no attempt at it would bring it any justice. The man covered the bodies and set off an emergency beacon, alerting first responders in the nearby village of Mayo. The entire community was shaken to its core by the tragedy. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the Yukon Department of Environment started an investigation, trying to make sense of it all. In March 2019, the investigation concluded and answers were finally provided to the grief-stricken family and friends. Evidence showed that the bear had found the trapline near the cabin and hid behind the trees before attacking the young mother and daughter. According to the investigation, the attack was completely unprovoked, which is more than strange due to the fact that bears don't usually consider humans prey. Instead, this particular attack appeared sudden, with all evidence suggesting that Valerie had no time to protect herself and her baby. She didn't even have time to react. The bear's behavior was predatory, meaning it didn't attack because it felt it was in danger. The real reasons behind the tragedy were found once the coroner released a report which found that the 18-year-old was incredibly emaciated. The beast weighed only around 302 pounds and lacked the critical fat stores needed for hibernation, meaning it was famished and desperate to eat before the long winter ahead. Even more, the bear was injured, which probably added to its anger and desperation. Prior to the attack, it had started to turn to uncommon food sources. The grizzly had previously consumed a porcupine, another highly unusual behavior. The necropsy found that porcupine spines had pierced the bear's stomach, which probably caused immense pain to the creature and hindered its efforts to hunt before hibernation. According to investigators, the attack was a mere case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, which perhaps made the tragedy even harder to overcome. Chief Coroner Heather Jones later said, "By acknowledging the last moments of Valerie and Adele, we provide dignity and respect to their passing by not seeing their deaths as statistics. They were daughters, a grandchild, a life partner, a mother, a teacher, good friends, very good friends, and members of our own community. And I'm sure so much more."